a partially valid, a half-truth, if you will, is being pushed.
I can't wait to find out all sorts of new and exciting things I didn't know about myself.
So you just hate Jews, bro?
Yeah, you're just an anti-Semite. Congratulations.
You're not
What would you say?
Exactly.
Well, that's different. It's not different. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's
that just we are the only society on Earth who has the obligation to self-destruct, to blame ourselves for every problem that has ever existed, and we just think of ourselves as the worst human beings who are responsible for every bad.
How many Muslims are trying to stop Boko Haram? How many Muslims were confronting ISIS? How many Muslims, the extremists always win. So the peaceful majority, which I know many, they're irrelevant.
Good morning, misfits. What's up with that? Hold on, let's try to get this. There we go. Yeah, we got there's a little, I don't know if you noticed, little different background. Just a couple of things moved around. We got the light on the Jesus, which I've been trying to do for months. It's just been sitting on the floor. Moved some of my my pews around, but yeah, great show today. That's not the only new thing on this show today. First of all, it is Maha Monday. So we go Maha Monday. What we do is we have a theme of the day, and Monday is Maha. So had Eli whip up this bad boy. And if you notice the right side here, we have the Misfit Tario debate part 1. I did upload this whole thing. I was going to only roll it out here, but what happened was we ended up talking for over 2 hours. And I was like, what I really didn't want to happen was somebody to be like, you cut that up, you clipped it, etc. So I'm gonna unroll the first part, probably do 15 minutes of the Maha Monday, and then roll that out. It's a really good debate. It's a really good conversation that needs to happen, which is why I wanted to share it with you. And you know, if it's over 2 hours, I think we'll do 3 parts just all week. And I can be in the comment section with you. But because we're on a time crunch and we want to make sure we get that in here, let's jump right in. We'll skip the news of the day. It's all the same stuff. You know, Trump bombed Iran again, and the shocker, because he said he was gonna, and they were like, now the left is like, I can't believe he did the thing that he said he was gonna do. But if you've already seen the debate, I'm sorry, but we're gonna be replaying it. If you haven't, it's a great conversation. So let's get into it, all right? RFK Jr. declares war on microplastics. Maha Monday. Here's a clip from Lee Zeldin. Okay, let's and there's been a lot of talk on whether or not he's going to be the new AG. I think he would be a really good AG, but I also think there are other people that can be the AG. Really, I don't care at this point. I just want the midterms. I want the midterms. We need to put our heads down and focus on the midterms, something that we talk about in this debate. And for the record, guys, I'll be, once I'm playing this clip, like 35, 40 minutes of the debate, I'm going to be in the comment section with you. So if you guys have questions or if you have commentary, I'll try my best to answer. I'm going to be getting ready for work, and but I will be with you the whole show. I'm just going to be playing a pre-record. So, but let's play this and see what's up with Maha Monday.
We're taking major steps in today's announcement to make America healthy again. I'm pleased to announce a landmark set of actions by EPA to safeguard the nation's drinking water from microplastics, pharmaceuticals, forever chemicals, and dozens of other contaminants. At the heart of these actions is our draft 6th contaminant candidate list, known as CCL6, which we are releasing today for public comment. CCL6 is a critical tool under the Safe Drinking Water Act that drives research, funding, and future regulation of emerging threats in public water systems.
Okay, so essentially what Lee Zeldin is referring to is the this is from EPA.gov. the EPA HHS announced historic actions to protect Americans from microplastics and safeguard drinking water. Joint initiative marks first ever inclusion of microplastics on EPA's contaminant candidate list and launches groundbreaking ARPA-H program to detect and remove microplastics from the human body. I have heard that men have microplastics in their testes, and I'm not letting anyone remove mine. All right? I mean, unless there's a really fun way to do it. But nah, you good. Yeah, we'll just keep them in there for now. Don't mess with my testes. Leave them alone. We're good. All right? Don't put any more in there. Remove them from the water. Hopefully mine will filter out through natural ways. You wanna know what's funny? Funny story. I don't want to get too ADD because I do want to play this debate. But Tim Pool blocked me because of this whole thing, right? Tim Pool started going after Liquid Death, the CEO of Liquid Death. He started really in a really shady way, lying about this guy and trying to claim like, oh, the Liquid Death uses microplastics. And Liquid Death never claimed that they didn't use microplastics. And it was all because Liquid Death used to have his friend on as a sponsored skate team. And they got rid of the program because it wasn't profitable. So Tim Pool essentially tried to cancel Liquid Death. And he did it in this really shady way. Now, I was on Tim Pool's show, and I've been in his warehouse, and he has pallets with thousands of cans. And I don't know if you know this, but every can, every one of them, has a microplastic liner, and they have to because of regulations. So Liquid Death goes, we're going to be getting rid of bottles and we're going to switch to cans because it's way, way less. They didn't say zero. They said way, way less. And I'm talking like 99.7% less plastics than a bottle. So anyway, I called Tim out for that, right? Because Tim Pool tried to make it seem like he was really concerned about microplastics. But then if you go on his website, he sells coffee pods, which are like the worst microplastic beverage delivery system ever. And it was just a very dishonest thing to do. I don't care that Liquid Death is liberal. I don't care about that. It's right or wrong. What he did was wrong. And I went after him. And so I'm never invited back on Tim Pool. But worth it. Worth it. I call it hypocrisy no matter who does it. Don't care. Anyway, yeah. So the new initiative, I think, is good. It's Maha, right? And we want Maha. And I keep hearing about how Trump is not doing anything, nothing America first, nothing. We're going to talk about that in the debate. But then you look at the initiatives that he's putting forward. You look at all right. So first of all, tough on crime. Murder's down to its lowest rate ever. Like not even in 10 years, 20 years, a few decades, ever. Right? The border is closed. We're going to talk about that in the debate. Right? It's like, sure, his foreign policy is aggressive and interventionist. And he did say no new wars, but he also said peace through strength. And if Trump says peace through strength, renames the Department of Defense to the Department of War, and everybody's like, yeah, peace through strength and Department of War, and then he goes and for the past 40, 50 years, he goes, I'm going to bomb Iran if they keep on trying to build a nuke. Did he really break his promises? I mean, okay, so he's doing Maha, he's doing border, he's doing crime, he's going after corruption. He's got J.D. Vance leading up the fraud department. This, and this. But he does one thing, which is bomb these Shia cleric, apocalyptic 12th Imam, death to America, I'm gonna build a nuke whether you like it or not, terrorists. And that is what everybody goes, nah, he broke his promise. He didn't break anything. He didn't break anything except for your freaking brain. Anyway, I mean, it's getting crazy. You guys are really gonna love this debate because we go into all of this, and again, wasn't expecting to go for 2 hours and 20 minutes. So maybe over the next few days we'll just break it down into 3 parts. But we'll talk about it. And the reason why I wanted to do it with Enrique is because he's not one of these people. He's definitely, but he's friends with all of them, and he doesn't understand why people like me are calling out the people he aligns with, and it's just going to be a really good conversation. But let's finish this article, and then we'll jump right into that. Department of Health and Human Services on Thursday announced massive joint effort to measure, understand, and remove microplastics. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin detailed the urgency of the growing health crisis in a press event, citing dramatic increases in plastic concentration. This is not rare exposure, this is baseline. Kennedy warned, noting that researchers have found plastics particles in human body, lung tissue, liver, kidneys, and every sample of tested human placenta. We're not dealing with a distant or theoretical risk. We're dealing with a measurable and growing presence inside the human body, and the signal is getting stronger. You know, this could be partially responsible for why cancer has gotten up so crazy. And by the way, I don't know. Don't come at me. All right, I'm just spitballing. Autism, cancer. There's a lot of things that we have now that we just didn't have before, and then somebody will be like, "That's because we didn't test or measure it." Yeah, maybe we did. Maybe we did. Maybe it's just we're being poisoned. You know, it's like cigarette smoking leads to cancer. What does drinking microplastics do? You know, just use your head. Just saying. Could be responsible partially for why we have so many beta bitches. I don't know. There's a lot of feminine. Look at Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes, stop it. I'm a Nazi. Stop it. Maybe that's a stop drinking microplastics, Nick. Maybe. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get into this. Let's just go ahead and jump into the debate. I'm going to skip the intro that I did live. Somebody asked in the chat, if you want to watch it, you can watch the whole thing. But Don't watch the whole thing, even though it's on my other channel. Watch it here, right? Because we want to make sure you like and share this, and you can watch it, and I'll be in the chat. Watch it here instead, but if you really want to, rumble.com/TMP Uncensored. All right, here we go. Part 1, Misfit versus Enrique Tarrio. Or somebody else. So, without further ado, Enrique, thank you, sir, for coming on. How are you?
Pretty good. I like how you started out with it's the afternoon, not the morning.
Yeah.
And the truth of that is because I don't wake up early.
Yeah.
So we started. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it's a good thing we didn't do it live.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
We are technically doing it live, but you asked me if we were going to do it live, and I go, it would be better if we did it pre-recorded, because I don't care if we talk for 2 hours, I'll split it up and I'll put it on different shows. I only have an hour in the mornings because I'm part of a lineup, but I didn't want to constrain us to an hour. I mean, we could do a quick hour, we could do it 30 minutes, we could do whatever, but I didn't want that to be something that was in the back of both of our minds where it's like we didn't get our points across. I'm here to really get to the bottom of this, because I think I'll let you give your thoughts in a second, but to open it up, right? Here's the debate prompt. Has Trump failed on America first, right? And I think he hasn't, but I feel like a lot of criticism he's getting from, quote, the right, is centered around that, right? Where it's like, this isn't America first. That isn't America first. You said you were going to do this. You said you were going to do that. I think that you've given some of that. I know that you've clarified that you're not anti-Trump by any means, but give me your introduction. Let's call it your opener, your opening argument for, has Trump failed on America first? Introduce yourself, what you're doing here. You can say whatever you want. Talk about who you are, etc.
Okay. So as you presented me, my name is Enrique Tarrio, former chairman of the Proud Boys. And I mean, I'm just going to dive in. I think the problem that we have is, like, you just mentioned the word camps when you just started, like, the monologue, right? Like, we're in different camps, and that's where I have a problem. The camps. it's not that I'm picking one side over another, because I kind of pick what I like on one side of the argument, and I pick on the other side of the argument. And look, for the most part, I think we could say at the top of this pyramid on the what people online consider far right would be the Nick Fuentes, right? So like, look, I don't like Nick Fuentes' view on certain things, but like some of the things he says, he makes sense. So I'll share the stuff that I think makes sense. And then they're like, oh, well, you're anti-Semitic if you share Nick's content. No, this clip, whether I shared it because I think it's insightful or funny, I shared it. It doesn't mean I've called Nick uh, numerous names in the past. Um, I don't have a lot of interaction with him, but you could say that. And then like on the other side of the aisle, you have like the counter, like the Laura Loomer, like which is kind of cringy. She's a personal friend of mine. She's been a friend. I appreciate her advocating for me and coming to court. But I disagree with her when it comes to foreign policy, which is what all of this boils down to. It all boils down to what we feel like is foreign policy. And then finally, to answer your question, has Trump failed on America first? The answer is no. I think those people that thought that the president was, the word that people keep using is anti-war. You could be pro-conflict in order to be anti-war. Like, I support the strikes. Do I want to see boots on the ground? Absolutely not. Do I support boots on the ground? No. Does that make me lose support for the president? No. Like all three of those are no, no, no.
Okay.
Right. So I have a very nuanced position. He's talked about Iran numerous times before. He talked about it during his campaigning of 2016, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I remember because I was there. I'm a golden escalator Trump supporter.
Same, yeah.
So I think that my problem, when you see me go after right wingers, I don't go after right wingers because of ideology.
Yeah.
I go after them because they're punching right, and I feel like that's where I kind of draw the line. Like Loomer says, well, Tucker's not America first, and then Tucker really didn't mention Loomer until after those attacks, and I think like they're two sides of the same coin when they're arguing. And they're basically, it goes back to this argument where this foreign policy has us divided.
Okay. Well, so this will be a tough debate for either of us to lose because we agree that Trump is America first and he hasn't failed on America first. So I guess the debate could be more, should we be aligning with let's call them reactionary right. I call them the woke right. People call them the dissident right, the far right, what have you. But I feel like there is a divide, and you maybe have a different perspective of what we should do about that divide. Okay, so here's my position. Okay, so for instance, you brought up Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson. Let's just address those things directly. Nick Fuentes. Has the right to say whatever he wants. I've been of the belief that he should be platformed more, not less, right? But I think that he should be challenged more, not less, right? Because what's happening is people have latched onto Nick Fuentes and gone down this whole, well, he has some good ideas. I disagree. I don't think that he has any good ideas. It's like, to me, it's like saying Islam has some good ideas, right? Now, that could be objectively true, right? Like you could try to find something and cherry pick something out of an ideology that you don't align with, isolate it and say, that's a good idea. Like for instance, Andrew Tate, okay? Andrew Tate, he's suing me for saying that he is on camera slapping around a 15-year-old girl that he pimped out, and I think that makes him a piece of shit pedophile, okay? So, but you could also say, some of Andrew Tate's content where he tells young men to go out and get a job and motivate themselves is good. You could do that, right? So what I think is when you validate something as by using an isolated part of it, you're validating the whole thing, right? So when people validate Nick Fuentes, whether they mean to or not, they are validating Nick Fuentes. And I think he should be challenged instead of validated. Same thing with Tucker Carlson,
I want to challenge what that word validate means. Does that mean like share content, agree with
No,
him
I'm not talking.
publicly?
No, I'm not talking about platforming. I'm talking about
No,
agreeing.
I get it.
Right. So,
So like let's say his stance on his stance on net zero immigration, right? That's something I align with, and I'm vocal about it.
Okay,
I've been vocal about it for a long time, probably before Nick.
That's a perfect example, because what Nick Fuentes will say is that Trump hasn't done enough on immigration. He hasn't deported people, but he's lying, right? So validating that position from Nick Fuentes is validating a lie. It's validating his position, which is that we haven't had mass deportations, even though from the DHS numbers, we have 2.7 million self-deportation through the CPB-1 app, because Donald Trump used the CPB-1 app to get people to self-deport. Meanwhile, we have about 700,000, 650,000 in round up deportations, which brings the number to over 3 million, which means that Trump has deported more illegals of this country than any president in history. That's mass deportation. So when Nick Fuentes says there isn't mass deportations, he's lying. And if you agree with him, you're validating a lie.
Well, wait, hold on, but see, you took it in a direction where you started speaking about the president. I didn't ask about what his position on there. I'm very clear on what his position on there, and I disagree with him. But do you agree with Nick Fuentes' position on net zero? Not how he talks about Trump. Do you agree with his net zero?
Do I agree with the?
Is that a position?
Do I agree with
a position that you take?
Do I agree with the position of net zero immigration? I agree with. Right,
yes.
But if you say do I agree with do I agree with Nick Fuentes' position, I do not, because his position is based on a lie. So I base my position
that's
off
semantics.
The truth. It's not semantics, right? Because you're using Nick Fuentes' position, not the position of net zero. If you use the position, do I agree with net zero immigration? Yes. Right. Do I agree with Nick Fuentes' net zero immigration? No, because he's lying. That's That's what I'm saying by validating. Right? If you use Nick Fuentes' principle, or if you use Nick Fuentes' argument, or Nick Fuentes'
do you and Nick Fuentes hold the same position on net zero immigration?
No, because my position is based off of actual net zero immigration. Do I hold the position? Does Nick Fuentes hold a position of net zero immigration? Maybe. But his position that he's argued is that it's not being done. Right? And my position is that it is.
I say, look, the numbers here. Here's the thing with some position, like the numbers never enough, right? Because what we actually have to do with immigration isn't pretty. It's actually ugly.
Sure.
Right? It doesn't look pretty on a camera. Like mass deportations, I think when we say mass deportations, I think there should be a bigger word than that when we're saying, because that would be what would, I believe, start saving the country. And that doesn't look pretty. And look, I get what you're saying with it. I just feel like those semantics are I feel like getting into like taking that off ramp. Well, I don't agree with him because X. He has that position. He's always had that position. And my problem is exclusively that. And I don't want to change the subject, but I kind of want to get into something that comes along with this. Like when people say, well, when you speak, so Nick's in a very unique situation, and a lot of people are getting into that same unique situation, which is
so. Just real quick,
people keep talking about Nick Fuentes.
Well, not to cut you off, and not to cut you off, but just so that you understand, I do have this on the screen. This isn't trying to trap you into a gotcha moment or anything like that. I just wanted to be clear. So this on the screen, it says, what are the total number of deportations for Trump's second term, including self-deportations? It's described as having more than 2.5 million total departures, okay? So dismissing Nick Fuentes' argument, or whether or not I agree with Nick Fuentes or what have you, right? Would you say would you say that that's mass deportations and net zero?
I would say yes, that's mass deportations.
Okay.
What I want is beyond that, obviously. So I'm happy with the administration's deportations. I think it's going to require so much more, right?
And how would you say that that's possible. So first of all, we know that the reason why the actual physical deportations aren't up is for a couple of reasons. Number one, sanctuary cities where they won't let us come in and do our jobs, but also just math and semantics, right? Like there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so many agents in the country, and there's only so many.
There's
agents.
so much money going to.
Well, I mean,
ICE
think
and
about it. How many?
CBP,
If there are 3,000 agents, right, and there are let's say 20 million. Like I bet it's either higher or lower. It's probably higher. 20 million, 3,000 agents. How many agents, 3,000 agents, if they spent all day 24/7 not sleeping, how many of them could actually put handcuffs on an illegal immigrant and get them out of the country? It's very low. It's thousands, not millions, right? So you have to do self-deportations in order to get mass deportations. We can agree on that, right?
Or increase, like downsize the budget of the FBI, like the Washington field office by itself is
I believe that I think
ridiculous.
that they are doing that. It's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy, but I believe that Kash Patel, that was one of his first orders of business is I think they downsized it. Don't have the numbers in front of me, but by a decent percentage. So I agree with you there. Right. And put more agents on the ground doing their job as opposed to pushing papers across a desk. I agree with that, too. What I'm saying is if we're going to get into the specific, has Trump met, exceeded, or underwhelmed on expectations, right? You're saying I think he should do more, and I'm saying how? Well, right? Like because
how? Okay,
2.5 to 3 million. That's a lot in a year, dude.
Yeah,
that's like
is
6,000.
that is a lot.
It's like 6,000 a day.
That is
bro.
a lot. And look, I'm not by any means unhappy about it. I'm actually happy about it. What I'm saying is, like, in order to really make a change, those numbers would be a lot higher, and that's why I said it's not pretty, and it might not be you might not be able to do that, right? So that's why I'm not angry at Trump for it. I'm actually happy he's done it.
Sure.
Would I like to dismantle the entire FBI? Sure. I have my problems. I have my problems with what Kash has done. I have my problems with what Bongino has done. I've voiced those opinions. It comes from a personal place.
Yeah.
Right? Because you just said, well, he downsized the FBI. Well, wait, why are the FBI agents that worked on Crossfire Hurricane, the Mar-a-Lago raid, the J6 prosecutions, the Russia hoax, why do they still have jobs? Why is Jocelyn Ballantyne, which was the head of the Capitol Siege Division for the DOJ, this is a different, the DOJ is still working there, now back to the FBI. Why is Special Agent Hannick or Special Agent Nicole Miller, why do they still have jobs? You know, so when I go after Trump's appointees, it's usually for a personal reason and something that I see and something that's going to be a huge issue for the president, not during his term, but right after he leaves, because I feel like they're going to come after him, they're going to put him in chains, and they're going to play reverse chess this time, not where they take his supporters out to take him out last. They're going to take him out first and then come imprison us.
I understand that. I think that, and you know, I don't think that you would disagree with me by saying this, right? But I think that your bias and your focus comes because the government was quite literally weaponized against you. It's on the forefront of your mind because it happened to you. I watched your interview when you got out about how they put you in this, you know, handcuff box and 23 hours a day. And it's like, dude, I can't imagine what you had to go through because of that. And I think that if that happened to me or anyone else, I think that I would have a very similar I already have a distrusting view of the government, right? But I would have my position on steroids, and I would be weary and questionable of everybody. But let me pose this to you. It seems like a similar argument. I'm not saying it's the same, but it seems like a similar argument of why hasn't J.D. Vance fired Tucker Carlson's son yet? That you'll get that argument from Laura Loomer, right? Like why hasn't why isn't the person that I found on the internet that I have a problem with fired, right? And I would say that there's potentially a couple of reasons for that. Number one, federal bureaucracy and red tape. It's not easy to just fire people, right? While Trump has fired plenty of people, and he does have positions where he can fire people, there's a cost, right? There's not only there's a political cost, like it could, you know, spark a media frenzy, but there also could be some type of, you know, reason that they're not doing it behind the scenes. Like maybe he's not micromanaging every department. Maybe he's giving a lot of rope to his subordinates. I will say that I agree with you that his decisions in the past for appointees has been lackluster, right? It's one of my biggest criticisms of him. I think that his first administration, he trusted too much for what people were telling him. Hire this guy, hire that guy, hire this guy. And he just did. And then this time he overcorrected by hiring only loyalists. And that's how we got Pam Bondi, who's a loyalist who kisses his ass, and she didn't do her job, right? So, and she just absolutely fumbled the Epstein files and spends too much time on Fox News. And now he's correcting that by just getting rid of her recently. Kristi Noem, same thing. These people want to be in front of a TV. So just to say, I agree with you, but I think that maybe you are coming at it from a jaded viewpoint, and that's understandable.
So the answer is yes. I do have a bias, but to make a difference between like certain examples of people that don't want other people in the administration, like Laura, and looking for the Tucker Carlsons, the Tuckers of the administration, there's a difference, right? And it's because of those experiences, even though there's a bias, because of those experiences, I saw the machine firsthand. I saw the prosecutions. I saw how easy it is to put somebody in prison. And look, when I'm talking about these things, it's not coming from bias. It's coming from a warning, right? A warning, because we've seen it before. It's not like I'm warning you of something new or hey, the aliens are coming, the reptile people. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if these people aren't fired, these are the people that they're going to use to take down the president and his supporters. And I'm very passionate about that, because when we preach the word freedom and liberty, and you have the word patriot under there's patriot 4 times under us. When we talk about patriotism and we talk about freedom and we talk about liberty, robbing somebody of that freedom and robbing somebody of that liberty, it's not just me. They're going to do it to a lot of people, and they've said it. And I know Carville isn't like the spokesperson for the Democrats, but that's the same sentiment that we're seeing across the board. And when I say Carville, for the audience, you know, he recently said, you know, when Democrats get back in power, they're not only going after Trump, they're going to get his family, they're going to get his friends, they're going to get his appointees.
I share that
so
concern.
That's where, that's where mine comes from concern. Laura's might come in this case, when I'm using that specific instance. Laura's like, okay, well, this guy shouldn't be in the administration. I think that comes from more of a personal place and a more of a biased place than I do when I say, hey, you're going to be put in fucking chains.
Well,
if these people, if the retribution and retaliation, that doesn't mean violence, the accountability does not happen to these people.
That's a good point, and I wouldn't disagree with you. First of all, Laura Loomer blocked me because I've called her out for her craziness before. So it's not like you're going to have me, you're not going to have me like, you know, defending Laura Loomer. I think she's kind of a psycho. I'm glad she's on our team. I honestly don't have really a big personal problem with her, but I think that she's very biased. And I think that you're potentially not realizing that your bias could be driving a blind spot. So for instance, this is a perfect segue, because you made the argument that you don't want the people in power who would put us in handcuffs as fast as they could. That's the same reason why I am coming out in the opposing viewpoint of being more like calling out somebody like Nick Fuentes, Thomas Massie, all the people. So Thomas Massie's aligning with the Democrats, and he's, you know, sort of helping sort of handicap the Trump agenda. And there's constant division that's being pushed by this dissident right. And I think that he's a big figurehead for it. I think that he's a big hero on that side. Like, yes, you need to hold this administration accountable, and you need to make sure you're loud and that you're getting in there and letting Trump know that this isn't what we want, right? But could it be a double-edged sword where by doing that, you actually handicap him, you create division, doubt, you push a lot of demoralization and blackpilling on the right, and then what happens is we actually don't win the midterms. The Democrats come in, they put their restrictions on him as much as possible with impeachments and maybe nuking the filibuster, maybe trying to, just hijack the government and give them an advantage in the 2028 election so they could steal it. And then we actually have the very thing that you were trying to prevent. Right. So, and I'm not saying that you should be a cheerleader, and I'm not saying that you should be blind loyalist to Trump. What I'm saying is you should be cognizant of whether or not your criticism is constructive or destructive. And I think that a lot of the criticism I'm seeing is destructive. So what do you think about that as far in terms of how we are aligning with people that are constantly demoralizing and blackpilling?
So let's start with two things. One statement. Let's not confuse the online world with the real world.
True.
I go to a lot of local Republican clubs. I was at CPAC. That doesn't count. And before CPAC, I was at like 4 down here in South Florida. I've been a local. That's how I started. I started through local politics.
Yes.
So I visited these Republican clubs. I started the first Tea Party group down here in South Florida. I helped start that. When I go to speak at these things, the sentiment that I see on Twitter, because I'm on Twitter all day, the sentiment I see on Twitter isn't the sentiment I see from people in real life.
Correct.
Right? Like they're happy with the president. I mentioned, as a matter of fact, at West Palm Beach, I tested the audience. I mentioned Tucker, right? And people cheered. And then I mentioned Laura Loomer and people cheered.
Yes.
They had like no idea what was going on in the Twitterverse. So I do want to separate the Twitterverse from your regular, everyday, working class, conservative that's watching everything.
Well,
so
I say this all the time, right? A sprout is not a plant, right? But it grows into a plant, right? And the online space is not real life. It's very far off, in fact, right? But the more you water it, the more it grows, right? And
that influence does go into real life.
I mean, Tyler Robinson, Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. I mean, I don't know if you disagree with that, but let's just use the example.
I agree with it.
Okay, thank you, thank God.
Yeah,
all right, Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk because he was indoctrinated online. So while the real world may not be real life, it has real world implications, right? The demoralization and the psyop, right? The TikTok, the years, over a decade of TikTok that had people praising Osama bin Laden with his letters to America. It is not real life, but it affects real life, right? And you look at the tyranny of the minority, right, which is a very small population can be tyrannical to a very large population. The best example is the trans community. Trans are only 1% of the population. Big fucking problem, I think, right? Because they're very loud. Right, they're very loud, and these pro-Palestinian protesters, again, very small but very loud. BLM, very small but very loud. So while I agree with you that it is not real life, it does affect real life. So we do have to treat it seriously.
In the long term. It affects it. It does affect it, and you will see those effects of it come. Not the midterms. You will see it in the 2028 election because people are picking loyalties right now.
Exactly.
Right? Like there's some people aligning themselves against JD Vance because they have Tucker's family member that works with JD Vance.
I don't
But
think that's
regardless of the
that's probably
fact-
not a main driver, but there are some crazy people. There are some crazy people who I have called out and I've debated in favor of Tucker's son because I don't have the sins of the father complex. I think Tucker is a very destructive, anti-American, pro-authoritarian, arguing for the New World Order, and I think that he is a huge problem. But I don't know what his son. I haven't seen his son do anything, so I'm not gonna do that. Right? It's like, I mean, if you think of Elon Musk's son is a tranny who's like hates Trump, but Elon Musk is not his son. So I don't do that. But I do.
So
see,
Zach,
go ahead.
let me answer the original question, which was, maybe.
Are we demoralizing? Are we making the wrong?
Are
move?
we demoralizing? And I'd push back on that, and I'd say like, you know what? And I'll include you for argument's sake. I'll include you. The more that you talk about David Smith, the more you talk about Nick Fuentes, the more you talk about Tucker, you actually promote them more than they promote themselves. I've said this before. Mark Levin has made more Groypers in the past couple months than Nick Fuentes has probably made his entire career. So, not talking. Look, a good friend of mine, Jack Posobiec. People are like, "Oh, why isn't he out there calling Candace?"
Calling her out.
Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you why. Because I know Jack. He doesn't want to give it any steam. The more steam he gives it, right? The more you mention Candace, and I think Candace, her husband should disconnect her Wi-Fi. I think she should be working at a DMV because it looks like that angry black woman vibe. That's where like that energy belongs.
Sure.
But the reason why he doesn't want to do it is because he just doesn't want to like this conspiracy that Tyler Robinson didn't shoot Charlie Kirk. I think is retarded. Do I think that there's more that we don't know? Yes. You know, I think?
Yeah.
So some people say, well, what Candace is doing is affecting the trial. As a person who went through trial, I think that nothing is going to stop this guy from getting found guilty.
I would agree there. I mean,
will never happen.
I think people are jumping.
The machine that got me for a crime I didn't commit.
Yeah.
Right. Was able to put me in prison. So they're going to get this guy that actually pulled the trigger, no matter what the reason is. And he's going to be in prison either the rest of his life. I don't know if there's a death penalty option, which there should be.
There is. I'm
typically against the death penalty for reasons other than like this liberal reason. I just feel like you should suffer in jail, which is
I used to feel that way.
Higher form of
I used to feel that way until I realized how much money they cost to keep alive.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Here, let me give you the counter to your point, right? First of all, it was specifically with Jack Posobiec. I think that's bullshit. I think that's an excuse. I think that the reason he doesn't call her out is because he doesn't want the backlash. He has entertained people in that circle with the big tent theory, which I think is a horrible theory. I think it's the dumbest strategy ever, having a big tent strategy. And Posobiec has, been like, "Oh, I'm very."
Well, isn't a big tent strategy what got us to win in 2024?
Because it was not because we aligned with the Groypers.
You had the podcasters.
It was not, but it was not because we aligned with Groypers. It's because we aligned with libertarians and we aligned with moderates. We aligned with RFK Jr. We aligned with people that were in the Tulsi Gabbard camp, but we did not win the 2024 election because we came out and started saying, well, the people who think that the Jews have space lasers are we shouldn't call them out. No, big tent strategy versus open door policy. I think that's the difference there. Now, back to Jack, right? He was just recently.
I do want to push back on you on the Groyper thing, but go ahead. I just want to put a bookmark on it.
Notepad, write it down. I'll finish my point. But Jack was also called out because of what happened at MFest, where he took the picture standing next to Myron Gaines with this shirt that said "Let him cook." Right now, you can make the argument
he regrets that picture.
I'm sure he regrets the picture.
I actually brought it up to him.
I'm sure he regrets the picture. It was a stupid picture, and I'm not saying that he knew Myron Gaines was wearing it. But when questioned about it, he just said he goes, I don't think the shirt was good. But all you have to do, right? And this is not controlling speech. This is not virtue signaling. This is not cancel culture. But all you have to do is give a common sense answer and say, yeah, Myron Gaines is an idiot, but he can't even do that. So by taking the excuse,
he doesn't want to feel the fire. I've known Jack for years. He doesn't want to feel
that's
the fire.
What I'm saying.
He knows how Nick Fuentes became Nick Fuentes.
But that's
right.
You are exactly right, and we are in 100% agreement. And that's my point. We don't need cowards like him to not be able to come out and go, yeah, he's an idiot. Right? You need people who are able
black
and willing
dudes
to
wear
do it.
Sesame Street stuff all the time, And he's like, okay, well,
I'm not saying he knew,
Street
but
shirt.
it's just. But I'm saying it's just an example, and in giving my example, you kind of you did. You fully agreed with me that what he's not doing it. His motivation is not because he doesn't want to bring attention to it. His motivation is he's afraid of the pushback and he's afraid of what's going to happen, and that's
I don't
problem.
think anybody's afraid of the comments, like Twitter comments. Like, you
No,
know what?
but-
Like, I post stuff, and I don't really fucking look at my comments.
But
I
audience
just post
capture,
things. My
audience
feelings,
capture.
That's it.
Audience capture is a huge motivator for a lot of creators, right? Because what happens when you get to that size, right? And this is what was happening with Charlie Kirk right before he died. You know, the thing that people weaponized.
Well, why did Charlie Kirk?
The thing
Why
that
did Charlie Kirk put Tucker up on that stage? And
Well, so
Jack Posobiec on
and
that stage without,
I can give you that. I can give you that.
and he would
answer.
still do that, by the way.
No. Listen, here's the thing. Charlie Kirk put Cenk Uyghur on that stage. Charlie Kirk put a lot of leftists on that stage. Charlie Kirk put a lot of people that he disagreed with on that stage, but he pushed back
Do you
on
think
them.
he put?
Right?
Did he ever? He didn't push back against Tucker. And
Tucker
he didn't put that,
Tucker
he
didn't
didn't
start
put
getting
Tucker on the
crazy
stage.
until hold on. Tucker didn't
He
start
didn't-
getting
he didn't
crazy
put
until
that-
after Charlie was killed, right? Tucker was very, very tame.
I think
before.
Tucker's more focused right now. I think Tucker's more focused right now on the issues in the Middle East. And look, I think that's a dangerous black hole to ride into, right?
Sure.
Because I always say obsessive politics is crash and burn politics.
Yes.
I've been around and I know I've seen, and I'm not going to pretend I'm like some fucking guru, but I've seen who crashes and burns and who maintains this, right? Who stays in conservative movements,
Yes.
right? But when you become, and the number one killer is single issue, people that focus on single issues, like
Yeah.
people that I have my concerns with Israel. I have my concerns. I
Yeah, me
I
too.
share some of those concerns that people call me anti-Semitic for. I'm not obsessed with it.
Yes.
That's not a hill I die on. I share my concerns.
I think that the people
a lot
who
of
are
people on
the
that.
people who are critical of Israel are way more obsessed with Israel than people who are not, right? For instance, I have always since October 7th had this position, right? I don't know or care about the Israeli government, Netanyahu. I intentionally didn't even really learn. I know that they have the Knesset. Their government's 120 people. It's a country the size of New Jersey. I don't really know the politics over there, nor do I care about the politics over there. But what I have been fighting very vocally against is the people who are obsessed with Israel. If you look up Tucker Carlson and his YouTube and you put it into AI, he's mentioned Israel over 3,700 times. Even Ben Shapiro has only mentioned it like 1,500.
But what if that's his focus? Like let's say you were looking for the CEO of like
But why is it the
pro-life
focus?
group,
But why is it the
right?
focus?
Well, because he feels strongly about it.
Yeah, but I'm
And
saying that's a
where,
good.
and I don't want to get into another personality.
Well,
'cause I'm
no, I
kinda
don't. No,
doing
no.
exactly what I don't want to do, like Joe Kent. Right?
Yeah. So, like, what I'm saying
Joe
is,
Kent's
right?
like the perfect example. He like lost his wife. It's
No.
Like
taking
can you
Tucker,
can you imagine?
taking Tucker
ahead, go
Carlson out of it. Let's take the behavior of people like Tucker, but like a lot of people, right? There is an anti-Israel obsession, right? That is online. My question is why,
agree.
right? But if it was Hungary, right, or Azerbaijan, or some other country, right, some other small country, right, and people started getting really obsessed and talking about it, right? Wouldn't it be strange? Because when you look into what their arguments are, we give Israel a lot of money. We give Israel 0.0035% of the federal budget, and they have to spend 85% of it back in America on the military. Now, I don't agree with foreign aid. I don't agree with military aid. But if we're going to pick a country that we are really upset because we are essentially funding it, Canada's really close, right? We are propping up Canada's economy. Canada is not even acting in like an ally. They're actually way more anti-American than Israel. So if there was a big movement that was anti-Canada, I could kind of go, you know what? It kind of makes sense. But I don't see that with Israel because it's all this argument of money. When you do the math, right? We're not giving them that much money. It really is not that much money at all.
Well, my argument against Israel is not the money, and again, I'm not obsessed with it.
I don't think you are.
But mine is influence
Sure.
within our government.
Okay.
And you see it. Look, you see it, and look, there's a bunch of different organizations, foreign organizations, that have influence with elections, right?
Yeah.
We keep hearing the IPAC and stuff like that. There's like a million other organizations, but I
Yeah.
guess that's the most visible one.
Well, you mean you have and I'm not saying that you're doing this, right? But you have IPAC donating to Thomas Massey, also funding the Democratic Socialists of America, funding the ICE protest, the anti-ICE protest, the
Did you say
pro-Palestinian.
IPAC funding Thomas Massey?
Or is it? Yeah, I believe it was IPAC.
No, not Thomas Massey though.
Let's look at
Like that's what he touts. It's like zero. IPAC
No.
money.
You're talking about APAC.
APAC, yeah.
APAC. I'm talking about IPAC, right? So hold on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No. So APAC. So there's all right. So I'm not sure if you knew this, right? APAC. Okay. The American Israeli Political Action Committee. They are, I believe, I want to say they're in the somewhere in the number 20 as far as donations go, right?
Yeah, that's what I said.
They're
I said
100.
that
Yeah,
there's-
they're number 199th in lobbying, right? And I'm anti-PAC, right? So I think that they all should be disbanded. I think that the only money politicians should get are from their constituents in state elections and from every American in federal elections. I don't think that PACs are. I think that PACs are bad. So I can agree with you, and I've very vocally spoken out against APAC very often because they're also donating money to Hakeem Jeffries, right? They're giving money to radical leftists, right? So how can I be supportive of that thing? What I'm saying is the outrage. It's the same argument that I'm making for the people that are against Israel as far as the money, right? They think that there is influence with AIPAC, but the numbers don't really suggest that. Yes, the numbers suggest that there is influence, right? But I mean, the National Association of Realtors is the number one PAC. They give Congress about 25 times as much money as AIPAC, and then you have something.
But are they focused on American?
But well, let me ask you a question. Who would benefit from the California wildfires, the Hawaii wildfires, and who's benefiting from all of the Section 8 housing, social programs, right? What PAC in Congress is benefiting from not only the destruction of this mysterious destruction of infrastructure in
American
America,
homes,
and what is also responsible? What PAC is making the most money from the housing crisis, where we are trying to create more social programs to get a bunch of poor people into housing, where it's very hard for somebody like you or me to buy a home. Who do you think that benefits? That's anti-American. It's not AIPAC. It's not a foreign country. It's an American country.
Yes,
but
we
doesn't
agree. I
even-
mean, we don't even
So-
have to go down this rabbit hole. We agree.
All right, we're gonna pause it there. We got about 40 minutes in. I'm not sure. If we want to do the other the rest of it over the next couple of days, or if you guys just want to go watch the whole thing yourself. But there is the part one. I will definitely do a part two tomorrow or Wednesday. But I've noticed I was in the chat, couple people, not all of them, but maybe two people. And I've had this criticism before about how I interrupt and talk over. Okay. That's a debate. I don't know if you guys understand that. That's how you debate. You control the conversation. You don't sit there and just go, well, I'm going to allow this person to just say whatever they want and go unchallenged. But I think I was respectful enough with Enrique where I let him talk when he talked. I had a debate, kind of more of an interview with Tommy Robinson, and Tommy Robinson's he kept talking over me, and I kept talking over him, and talking over me, and it's like if you want to be like two A-type personalities, it'll be more in line. If you have an A-type and somebody who's more reserved, you're gonna have something like that. But get over it. Get over it. It was respectful. And I just wanted to let everybody know that was not an interview. That was a debate. All right. Both of us interrupted each other. I probably interrupted him more. It is what it is. Anyway, so part two will be tomorrow. we'll pause it right there with the right there in the APAC National Association of Realtors spot around 45 minutes, and then we can do 2 more of 45 minutes, and it'll be the whole thing. I want to do really quick, make sure I put this on the screen. I told Enrique I would give him a little shout out and a little promotion. A lot of people don't realize Enrique's life has been thrown upside down because the government was weaponized against him. And he doesn't have GoFundMes. He's not out there, begging for money. But he does have a website, and it is tariobook.com. So if you guys can go over and maybe check out his book right here, tariobook.com. We'll put that in an overlay on the interview, on the debate for tomorrow, but I forgot to get that queued up for today. Anyway, so Sean Farish is coming up next. Do some shout outs. Let's see what everybody thought about that little conversation. Let's get the chat up here. All right, so we got good debate. I love good arguments. Good. Some interviews turn into debates where the host doesn't allow others to speak. I think I allowed him to speak. But if you were to break that down, I'd say it's a 60-40 conversation where I'm controlling the conversation 60% of the time. He's controlling it 40. And he even says he's not a debater. I'm not a debater. Kozlo says Enrique kept interrupting. But that's the thing. There's no rules in an open format debate. If it had a moderator where it was like equal time, that's one thing, but that was more of a conversation. Anyway, but a lot of people are saying they liked it. They thought it was a good debate. P, you're out. Funmon, I'm biased. I'll be the moderator for part 2, LFA producer Eli. Yeah, there's no, the part 2, it's all pre-recorded. So, but yeah, the conversation itself, right? Which is what I wanted to get to. And I think we dive more into it in part 2 and 3 is the strategy behind not necessarily aligning with the woke right, but entertaining them instead of challenging them, right? And what I say is, I've said this all the time, the woke left, when the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, a young socialist, communist movement, started taking over their party, they didn't challenge them. They actually embraced them. They leaned into it. And I think that if we don't challenge our own version of that, which is the Groypers and the anti-Jew, anti-Israel, Christian nationalists, Christ is King, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith, the radical libertarians, the radical, white nationalists, the radical Christian nationalists, the radical this, the radical that. If we don't fight back against that, if we start saying they have some good ideas, game over. So we'll talk about that more in the debate tomorrow. We'll just do a full, as much of an hour as we can tomorrow because it's TDS Tuesday. Sean Farish is coming up next with Ungoverned. Quick shout outs: Eileen Jimenez, One Sandman, Tetra Pak, Bucklebrush Jones, P Year Out, JG Is Me 15, Funmon, Carla Hale, Deb Poland, Sooner Fan IMO, and here comes Sean Farish with Ungovernables. I'll see you tomorrow for TDS Tuesday and part 2 of our debate. See you later.
A partially valid, a half-truth, if you will, is being pushed.
I can't wait to find out all sorts of new and exciting things I didn't know about myself.
So you just hate Jews, bro?
Yeah, you're just an anti-Semite. Congratulations.
You're
Go
not
join.
What would you say?
Exactly.
Well, that's different. It's not different. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
That just we are the only society on earth who has the obligation to self-destruct, to blame ourselves for every problem that has ever existed, and we just think of ourselves as the worst human beings who are responsible for every bad.
How many Muslims are trying to stop Boko Haram? How many Muslims were confronting ISIS? How many Muslims, the extremists always win. So the peaceful majority, of which I know many,